Let me bring our panel of Chris Hahn, the NewsNation political contributor, Democratic strategist, and Matt Klink, the Republican strategist, in for a few minutes of conversation right on the heels of this. Matt, you first on the significance, particularly of the Iran announcement, which I did not believe we were expecting today. What'd you make of that?
I think it's a pretty big announcement. I mean, look, Iran has been systematically weakened since October 7 by Israel, and in part due to a direct attack by Israel on Iran, but also through their proxies. And the fact that Israel and the United States are clearly teaming up together, the symbolism of Bibi with Donald Trump today is significant. The fact that they're teaming up today should send an indication to Iran that an attempt to break out with a nuclear weapon is a non-starter. And as Trump said, if they don't come to the table with open arms, they will be in great danger.
Yeah, he was asked directly, Chris, if he's ready to bomb Iran if they don't, if these talks don't go well. He said something to the effect of it'd be a bad day for Iran if they don't go well, and said the talks are going to be high level. And he said, well, it'll be almost the highest level. So obviously, it doesn't involve him directly, but it involves high level, direct talks. Your thoughts on how they handled Iran before we talk trade, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see when we see, right? The highest level talks, is the Ayatollah and the president going to get on the phone at some point? I doubt it. And again, I don't trust anything Iran says. And frankly, I don't trust a lot that this president says anymore either.
Let's get into the trade. I think that's probably what you're alluding to when you say when you bring up trust. So one of the things he was asked, Matt, there was whether he would be open to a pause in tariffs, because there's been this idea for people who haven't been following this kind of tick by tick on the table. I think it was really introduced by a guy by the name of Bill Ackman, who's a very, very successful investor, but has also been a supporter, especially in recent months, of Donald Trump over the weekend, saying, you know what, Mr. President, what you should do is you'd have a 90-day pause, okay? And then in the market earlier, there was a rumor that that's exactly what Trump was going to do, and the market was down hundreds of points at the time, and it shot up, it moved higher, and then the White House says, no, that's not going to happen. So what Trump said now is that no, we're not looking at that. Although he did talk about these negotiations he's having, or his Treasury Secretary will have with Japan. What about the tariffs? Because that's what people are wondering about, Matt. If there's going to be at least some sort of an off ramp, something to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, well, Carolyn Levitt directly responded to that when she said that was fake news, that's not going to happen. And look, just because the market ticked up when that question was asked, what do they say? Coincidence does not equal causation. And I think that, look, Trump has been pretty clear. Anyone who said that they were surprised that Donald Trump was going to implement tariffs didn't pay close attention during the political campaign.
Could I just interrupt you for 1 minute? Because I don't think, I'll let you follow up on this, Matt, that there's surprise necessarily that he would implement tariffs. I think and in talking to a lot of Wall Street folks about this, where the surprise was how he went about it. This so-called formula that they came up with, saying reciprocal tariffs are what we want, and there was nothing reciprocal about it. For example, China charges us on average like 20% on our products, maybe, give or take, and now we're charging them 54%. So the idea, the numbers, and nobody expected them to go that far, I think, was the surprise. But go ahead, Matt.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Wall Street is reacting this way when you have Wall Street benefits from the existing system that's been in place for 80 years. And the biggest challenge here, and I think that what Chuck may address, and I think we should certainly talk about it, is, if the Trump tariff policies start to impact Main Street as opposed to impacting Wall Street, I think then you'll have problems on two levels. One, those are people that actually voted for Donald Trump. And two, that's when members of Congress who really care about one thing, whether they're going to get reelected or not, that's when they'll start to get more agitated.
I agree with you on both fronts there. I mean, I would say that, obviously there are tons of people who are impacted by the stock market that have 401ks. But I do think Matt's larger point, Chris, is a fair one, that this is not necessarily a stock market story. I was talking to Diane Swank, the noted economist, right before we went to President Trump about this. It's a real economy story, because are these companies, the companies that are part of the stock market, the companies behind the stock prices, how are they going to decide to handle this? Are they going to miraculously move these supply chains that have been established over decades and decades back to the United States? Or are they going to say, wait a second, we don't know what's coming. The first thing we're going to do is cut back and cut jobs, because that would affect real people. Pick up on it, Chris.
Well, first, 65% of Americans are invested in the stock market. This is not 1970, where it was like 27%. So that impacts a lot of Trump voters. I would say probably most Trump voters, if you had to think about it. But yeah, it's going to impact workers here in the United States of America because companies are so unsure about what's going to happen with Donald Trump that they are not going to make huge investments in manufacturing in this country.
Right.
And one other point, the manufacturing sector in this country is about 10% of our economy. Even if it doubled, it's not going to add the kind of growth that we've been seeing. And Donald Trump is ignoring the fact that the United States of America, while we may have trade deficits with like the EU, we are exporting our services sector to Europe in a way that actually balances out that trade deficit. He has a profound misunderstanding of how the economy works. He has a profound misunderstanding of who pays for tariffs. And it's just dangerous. And it is up to Congress now, who has basically been his lapdog for the last 80 days, to get in the game and push back on this, because he's perverting, really, an emergency power that he does not really have to institute these tariffs. And I think that they've got to step in here right now and do something about it. And if they don't, the nuclear winter that we're projecting in the economy will be an extinction-level event for the Republican Party.
Well, you're going further than Bill Ackman there. He's the one who brought that up. So, all right, so then let's make this the last question for Matt then. So, because I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an eye into how Trump still sees this when he made the comment during this press conference or question and answer session at the Oval Office that this is, quote, the only chance we're going to have to reset the table on trade. And that tells you, as he said himself, he's right about this. He's been talking about this for 35 years. He was said he was talking about it with Japan. That is true. He has been talking about it. So resetting this, two-part question, Matt. Do you think that means that there's no pullback? And answer what Chris brought up, because Congress could get in there and try to take some of these powers back that they've given to the president. Will they?
The likelihood of that happening, I will say, quote unquote, inflation is transitory, and Congress sat on their hands for years. So by roundabout way, no. I highly doubt Congress will get involved, at least in the near term.
Okay.
They may get involved in the long term if they feel like their 2026 election prospects are threatened. But Donald Trump firmly believes, and if you talk to or listen to his Treasury Secretary, well, I'm glad your crystal ball is clear. Scott Bessent said that this is part of a larger plan, that the tariffs coupled with the tax reform that needs to go through will help create an environment that will benefit more and address the hollowed out middle class that Republicans and Democrats before have not paid attention to. And Donald Trump is.
It's a good discussion on a live event. I got to run, guys, because